Yesterday you saw how a refugee's kid from Ipswich ran 19.67 seconds and became the fastest under 2200-meter runner in history. What you did not see was the training that built each phase of that run, not the race. The 4 physical foundations beneath it. Today, lightning from Ipswich Sprint System. 4 exercises. The acceleration, the stride power, the hip drive, the speed endurance that carried the final 50 meters faster than the first 50. This is how 19.67 was built. Let's go. Exercise 1, explosive start drill, 3 sets, 10 reps. Here is how Gout gets from the blocks to full speed faster than anyone else in his generation. The start of the 200 is not about maximum power, it is about the angle of drive. Low and forward, not up, forward. The acceleration phase runs approximately the first 30 meters of the 200. What happens in those 30 meters determines whether you arrive at the bend with momentum or whether you spend the bend recovering from a poor start. Drive through the floor at 45 degrees, head down until you reach full height. Every rep teaches your nervous system the angle. Drive phase built. That's how Gout arrives at the bend with momentum that nobody else in his age group can match. Rest 60 seconds. Next, the exercise that builds the stride that carries that momentum around the curve. Exercise 2, single leg bounds. 3 sets, 20 meters. Here is what Gout's stride length is in the 200 meters. At 1.83 meters tall with Dinka physical proportions, his natural stride advantage is significant. But stride length is not only genetics, it is also power. The ability of a single leg to generate enough force to project the body forward as far as possible on each contact. Single leg bounds train exactly this, the explosive power of each leg independently alternating across ground. Drive the knee forward and up on the bound. Land on the ball of the foot, not the heel. The arm opposite to the driving leg drives forward. This is the exercise that Gout's stride is built on. Stride power built. That's how Gout's long-limbed stride covers ground that shorter athletes need 2 contacts to cover. Rest 60 seconds. Next, the exercise that unlocks the hip drive behind every single bound. Exercise 3, hip flexor drive. 3 sets, 30 seconds. Here is the specific physical quality that makes Gout's final 50 meters in Sydney faster than his first 50. The hip flexor is the muscle that drives the knee forward in the sprint stride. When the hip flexor is powerful and mobile, the stride cycle is faster. The leg returns to the drive position more quickly, which means more contacts per second, which means higher speed without a longer stride. Gout's stride is already long. His hip drive is what maintains the turnover at the stride length that his frame can produce. Stand tall. Drive the knee straight up to hip height, hand on the raised knee at the top. Alternate. Fast. The hip flexor doing what it does in the race. Hip power built. That's the turnover behind the stride that doesn't slow in the final 50 meters. Rest 60 seconds. Last exercise, the one that ties every previous exercise into race speed. Exercise 4. Sprint interval repeats. 3 sets, 60 meters. Here is the specific race demand that the first 3 exercises have been building toward. In the 200 meters, the final 100 meters on the straight require the athlete to maintain mechanics, drive angle, stride length, hip turnover, under maximum fatigue. The best 200-meter runners in the world are not the fastest over 60 meters. They are the ones who slow down least. Gout does not just slow down least in his generation. On April 12, 2026, he appeared to not slow down at all. These 60-meter sprint repeats at controlled intensity train the body to hold the mechanics from the start drill, the stride from the bounds, and the turnover from the hip drive, all at once, under fatigue. Maximum effort every rep, full recovery between. That is not negotiable. Speed endurance done. That's the 4 phases of 19.67, acceleration, stride, turnover, and held mechanics to the line. That's lightning from Ipswich sprint system, complete. Explosive start drill, single leg bounds, hip flexor drive, sprint interval repeats. That's lightning from Ipswich sprint system. How Gout built the fastest under 2200-meter performance in history. The acceleration from the blocks, the stride that covers ground nobody else in his generation can match, the hip drive that keeps the turnover when the body wants to slow down, and the speed endurance that makes the final 50 meters faster than the first. You just trained the same 4 foundations. Yesterday you heard how a refugee's kid from Queensland ran faster than Usain Bolt at the same age. Today you trained the method behind it. That's legends built. Subscribe. The only person who cannot run their own 19.67 is the one who never puts on their first pair of spikes.